What's up, guys? What's up, Bully fam? Welcome back to my channel. I figured since I'm in lunch right now, I record another video for y'all. So welcome to episode 2. Today we're gonna talk about C-sections, specifically how to time your C-sections. And we're strictly gonna talk about that. And when I say strictly, I'm referring to like everything that has to do with timing your C-section, and how can you time your C-section. What leads up to a female coming in active labor, and what are some indications that you can go off of. I think it's important to just focus on one subject at a time. That in my opinion, so that's why I use the word strictly. Because I know some people may talk about C-sections, but at the same time also talk about whelping, and breeding and yada yada. So in this episode, we're just going to talk about C-sections. Now, first of all, let's talk about dog gestation. A female dog is typically pregnant about 63 days. Anywhere from 62 to 64 days. Not just and this applies to all breeds of dogs. But when it comes to timing the C-section, usually that falls in French bulldogs, English bulldogs, or American bullies, that I'm aware of. So what can you do to time a C-section? Well, there's some things you can go off of. Like, for example, something that might help is checking her temperature. Usually whenever your female is close to her due date, her temperature will drop. On a typical dog, a normal temperature is about 101 to 102. When a female drops below 99, that's usually a great indicator that she's going to have puppies within 24 hours. When it's below 99. Now, is that always the case? No. That's not always the case, but it has worked for me. It has worked for me in the past, so that's something that I look at. When it drops below 99, I know that I'm in that window where she's going to have puppies, within 24 hours. Sometimes it can be less than 12 hours. But it doesn't always happen. But that is what I have experienced, and that is what has worked for me. Another thing you can go off of is you can do a reverse progesterone. When your female is close to her due date, you can do a reverse progesterone. What has worked for me in the past is, anytime my female is below 3 nanograms, then I know it's safe to take puppies. That has worked out for me. And that's something that I have always gone off of, doing a reverse progesterone. And if it's below 3, I know it's go time. Another sign you can go off of is panting. If you see your female is close to her due date and she's panting, she's shivering and nesting, you know that she's going to have those puppies within 12 hours. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be less. You just never know. And the way you can find out how she will nest is you can compare it to digging. When dogs dig, not all dogs, but when female dogs dig, especially being pregnant, that's probably like a sign that she's looking for that she's nesting. She's looking for somewhere where she can get comfortable and she can give labor. Um, so what I do is I put newspaper in my female's crate, and whenever she starts nesting, she's gonna start scratching at the floor. She may start going in circles. She's just not gonna be herself. So when she starts going to town with that paper, with that newspaper, she starts scratching, that she is nesting, that she's finding a spot to give birth to those puppies. So that's another way that you can go off of. Another sign is, so we already talked about temperature drop. We already talked about panting, shivering, nesting. We already talked about reverse progesterone. Another sign would be refusing food. Usually when she's about 24 hours out of giving birth, she will refuse food completely. How can you figure this out? Well, usually you want to, if you let's say if she's close to her due date and you were to offer her some food, what I do is I like to offer her a little bit, a little bit of kibble. If I see she's not eating it in a time span of 3-4 hours, then I know something's not right. Then I know that she is going to go into labor real soon. Now, this doesn't always work. I mean, I know some dogs, they never refuse food. I mean, they just chow down every opportunity they get. But I mean, it has worked out for me, for my females. So I mean, that's a sign you can go off of. It's not always accurate, I would rely more on a reverse progesterone or temperature drop, as far as timing a C-section. Excuse me. Now let's talk about how long or what do you base yourself off of when timing a C-section. I know some breeders base themselves off of when they did the first AI or the second AI. Well, I don't like to do that. I base myself off of ovulation date. Usually it's about 61 to 64 days, give or take, post ovulation that she will have puppies. Let's say it's 63 days, post ovulation that she will have puppies. I like to go off of the ovulation date and not, when she was bred. That gives me a better idea of when she's going to have the puppies. Because remember, you're not looking for a specific date that she's going to have the puppies, but you're looking for a window. You're looking for a window when it's for a window that, a window that allows you to take the puppies safely and, allows the puppies to be healthy. Because if you take the puppies too early, let's say 2 days early, even 1 day early, what can happen is their lungs won't be fully developed, and that's what causes them to gasp for air. And it's important that you time the C-section properly, so that way their lungs can develop at full potential and they can be as healthy as they can. Because if you take them too early, their lungs are not developed properly, and that's when they start gasping for air. Also, when the pups are in the mom, in her abdomen, they're in a sac. They're in an embryo sac. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that. So the pup's receiving all his oxygen, all his nutrients through the umbilical cord, through the placenta. So just picture it like this: whenever the vet takes the pup out of the sac, out of the mom, the pup has to transition from getting oxygen from that umbilical cord to getting oxygen in real life, you know. So that's a big transition for the pups. So that's why you see the vets holding them upside down, shaking them, patting them on the back, because they got to remove all that fluid that's in their lungs so that they can take their first air, their first breath. Another thing I wanted to talk about is make sure y'all have a plan B, you know, all the time. Don't just rely on one vet. Have a backup vet that you can go in at 2-3 in the morning, because if you just have one vet, you know, the odds are going to be against you, and you want to have at least two. Now, who do I recommend C-sections for? Well, in my opinion, I recommend C-sections for French Bulldogs. Now, the reason is because French Bulldogs have small hips, and they tend to have a rather good sized head, you know, and that's how complications start, you know. Whenever they give birth, you know, they can have complications. A puppy can get stuck in the canal, and it can just all go downhill from there. So I recommend C-sections on French Bulldogs. I recommend C-sections on English Bulldogs. That's just a recommendation. I mean, you can do whatever works out for you. I also recommend C-sections for singletons. You know, the reason I recommend C-sections for singletons is because when you have a singleton inside the mom, it's really hard for a mom with a singleton to go into active labor. You know, it's really hard because she doesn't have enough cortisol that's going to stimulate her to go into labor, you know. And especially having a singleton won't be able to give, you know, to stimulate the mom to go into active labor, you know. And that has happened to me once. You know, I had a pocket bully that had a singleton, and she was about 63 days, you know, post ovulation. And you know, she was acting normal, she was eating normal, like if she wasn't pregnant. So I did a C-section on her, and you know, and luckily everything came out swell. You don't have to do it, you know. You're entitled to your opinion, to whatever you want, but that's just my recommendation. The reason I recommend you to do C-sections is because there's always a risk. There's always a risk of something happening, you know. And if you can't afford that risk, if you don't want to have that risk, you know, pay the money. I mean, sometimes you don't have the money, and I understand that, but you know, that's what being a breeder, you know, is about. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. You know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about C-sections and how you can time them, you know. And oh, what things do you want to have in hand, you know, when you do a C-section? Well, obviously you want to have her whelping box ready. You want to have her whole setup ready. You want to have goat's milk on hand. You want to have, if you plan on bottle feeding the puppies due to complications, have at least a few bottles on hand with a silicone nipple. S-Black on hand. Have some baby wipes on hand as well, you know. And I mean, there's other things I can't really think about them right now, but you want to make sure you have all that on hand, you know, before the puppies arrive. But yeah, that's pretty much it. for this video, and I hope y'all guys like it. I hope it does help in some way. So please like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next episode. Peace.